Welcome to Taskforce Geek. My name is Dirk Cooper, and I'm joined today by Scott.
Howdy.
And Sean.
Hola.
And our special guest is another Sean Murphy. How you doing?
Buongiorno.
Wow. so eclectic.
Speaking a little Italian there.
For those of you who are watching us live, we're on a little later than we planned because we had some storms. We're in Oklahoma City and more and around that area, and this time of year we have storm problems.
And they've been gearing up to do these storms since last night. So they were like, they wanted to get those through, and they weren't as big and powerful as they wanted.
Are you talking about the weathermen?
Yes.
The weather people?
Yes.
They live for that moment for sure.
Did you know David Payne, the guy who, like, I swear, gets erections during the storms? Did you know he's from my alumni? He's from John Cole and from Sean Wilson's alumni.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Well,
that's funny. He took over for Gary England.
I don't know if he technically graduated, but I guess he went to school there or something like that.
You got to figure the guy probably graduated high school, right?
Well, I know that, but I think there's some weird thing. My geometry teacher was Miss Payne, and that is his mother. So there is a Choctaw connection there. So,
yeah. Wow.
Ronnie's already chiming in. It hasn't taken him long.
Exactly.
He says, if you don't like the weather in Oklahoma, wait a minute. That definitely applies here in Oklahoma for sure.
The sad thing is what you get after a minute, it's worse. So waiting a minute doesn't usually help you.
That's true. That's so true. Hey, we should say that we've known, this is another friend of ours, Murph, is another friend of ours. I've known him for how long? 25 years, something like that?
Well, what have I lived here since 93? So since about there.
There you
go.
No,
when did I work? I went to work at Boa at about, 95-ish? So it would have been from there on.
Yeah, but I'd swear that I went to a comic show with you maybe, I don't know, Chicago or something a long time ago.
No. Okay, yep. I remember it was great.
That is the correct answer.
That is the correct answer.
No matter what, that is right on target.
That's great. That funny guy that told the jokes, I loved it.
If we talk about getting together on Friday night, Murph is one of the Friday night movie crew, just so everyone is all caught up. So all the stories or questions that we share on Task Force Geek come from the Task Force Geek Quora space. Let's see if I can get this right this time. There it is. There's the Task Force Geek Quora space. And also, if you're interested, then there is my profile on Quora. Please follow us on there. We are broadcasting live right now on Facebook, which is right there. That's my Facebook address. And our ridiculous YouTube channel, which is, like written in Sanskrit.
You get the same links I do. Exactly.
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. Hey, if you don't like that, go subscribe. We need 100 subscribers before we get that thing off of there, and it becomes something that doesn't look ridiculous like that. All right, so let's get it on.
What's Russian?
HBO makes Hellraiser series development deal. HBO has made a deal to develop a series from the classic horror franchise Hellraiser, with Halloween Helmer David Gordon Green set to direct the pilot and several more initial episodes that brings to the small screen for the first time Pinhead, the iconic pincushion-domed villain who heads a group of pasty-faced villains sent from hell known as Cenobites. The series will be written by genre and action vets Mark Verheiden, who did Battlestar Galactica, Daredevil, and Heroes, and Michael Dougherty, who did X-Men United, Godzilla King of Monsters, and Trick or Treat. So I'm going to go to Sean Wilson first to talk a little bit, since he's kind of our resident horror guy, to talk about this Hellraiser series.
I'm actually looking forward to it. Like you said, Gordon Green did the Halloween reboot. What a lot of people need to know is that this is not associated with the film reboot that is being written by David Goyer and directed by David Buckner. So this is completely a separate thing from the movie reboot.
So you're saying that there's also a movie version that they're bandying about?
There is a movie version that's been in development over at Spyglass.
Yeah, I didn't know that. How long has it been in development?
What year is this?
2020.
2020, the wonderful year 2020.
I believe, let's see, I know that it's been at least 3-4 years, something like that they've been messing with it. Going back and forth. At one point, Clive Barker was actually associated with it. I believe that he is no longer
That's appropriate.
associated with it.
All right. Scott, I'm going to go to you next, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm probably, it's a horror stuff. I mean, I've seen the first couple of Hellraisers back in the day. They are interesting. I've read a few of the Marvel comics that came out. Some of earlier Clive Barker stuff like Nightbreed and stuff like that. This doesn't do anything for me. I don't really care, I guess is what I should say about this. That doesn't mean it's not going to be good, and it might tickle the fancy of the right fan out there. I mean, all these series and stuff are getting, really good reviews from people. I mean, it seems like everybody except me is like either watching multiple series on Netflix or on Apple TV or Hulu. I mean, you name it, people are out there watching series, and they're just soaking them in like sponges and stuff. So I don't see why that would be any different. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to watch it, because it's really hard to get me to sit in front of the TV screen, especially for horror. But they probably got the right guy from, everything I've heard, from the last Halloween movie or whatever. All my friends seem to really enjoy it, so I guess that's good, right?
Yeah. Murph, you're up next, buddy.
Well, I have kind of an interesting background with Hellraiser. The first movie that came out way back in the day, I took a first date to without knowing what it was about.
Nice.
And there were a couple other dates, but it really didn't go far after that. But to tell you the truth, I didn't even know this was happening until I got the notes today from you guys. And it sounds like they got a good crew behind it as far as what they've been doing in the past. A lot of that stuff I do like and I have watched. HBO seems to have a pretty good reputation for putting together good stuff. So I don't know. It will depend kind of on, do I have HBO at the time? Because if I do, I'll watch it. If not, then I'll just wait till I do sometime. But I'm sure I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I'm for it, but I'm not.
Yeah, HBO puts together a good quality product. I think that they're now doing everything they can to kind of chase after that Game of Thrones crowd that they've lost now, since they're not making new Game of Thrones things. Hellraiser is an interesting choice on this thing. I think that whatever it is that they do, there's going to be a good production value there. David Gordon Green is an awesome choice for this. If you saw the latest Halloween, it was really good. I enjoyed Halloween a lot, and I'm not necessarily a big Halloween fan. I thought for sure Wilson would kill me on this, but I really like this. I like this version of it. It's really well done, and so I think David Gordon Green is awesome. Mark Verheiden, who they mentioned, is an old comic book writer and editor for Dark Horse Comics. So that's a comic guy who's been inserted into this. I like that. That's pretty cool. I think overall this is a pretty neat. I think this has a lot of potential to be really cool.
Is there going to be any connection between the series and the movie reboot stuff? Is there any kind of timeline?
No.
It's totally different stories.
This is supposedly a continuation of the original stuff.
Which one? The movie?
The original. I believe they reference the original novella as opposed to the films. So. Okay. But if you've read the novella, the first movie was pretty much dead on. Very few changes from the novella to the screen.
I didn't know there was a novella.
It's actually a really good book.
The book is
Hellraiser,
called
the novella.
Isn't that Hellbound Heart
Hellbound Heart.
Oh,
by Clive Barker?
Mm-hmm.
If you
I mean,
want to.
Remember, maybe it's the last episode we did, or maybe the one before, we talked about there's like no excuse for never having like a Superman movie and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. As a person who's not a horror fan,
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like Hellraiser is a good subject to have something out there for the people, because like
Yeah.
the ground roots of it has potential for anybody to like. I mean, if you got me to watch it at least once, that means I liked it enough, you know? So for me to stick up for it and say, like, this is your genre, you really should, you know, go out, find the book or whatever. I mean, maybe not the old movies. They don't hold up so well. But, you know, they tried. For back in the day, those were scary in hell, though.
Yeah.
The first two movies were done really well.
Exactly.
Everything after that was pure crap. They were just trying to cash in on the Cenobite craze or whatever. Everybody going after Pinhead, which, by the way, if I remember correctly, Clive Barker hated people calling the lead Cenobite Pinhead. He absolutely hated that. In fact, it wasn't. If I remember correctly, it wasn't until probably the last 10 years or so that he finally said, "All right, fine. His name is Pinhead." Outside of in the books and whatnot, he was just referred to as the lead Cenobite, and that was it. But yeah, the series, I believe, is supposed to take place after the events of the first novella. There has been a sequel book written, which right off the top of my head I can't remember, which was also very good. Pinhead faces off against the devil, and that was a good book. I highly recommend all of those. But yeah, you know, all of those subsequent sequels, they were trying to cash in on the craze of the Cenobites, and they never really had the same heart, as it were.
Wasn't there one in space? Wasn't there a space station or something that was?
There's always one in space.
Bloodlines.
Oh, sorry.
Hellraiser Bloodlines.
Ronnie wants to know if there's going to be any new characters in this version.
They're going to center, again, because they have problems breaking that mold. It's going to center around Pinhead, and I guess whatever idiot happens to open up the puzzle box.
Right. Hey, does anyone have any ideas on who should play Pinhead? I have a few I can throw at you.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Rowan Atkinson.
No.
John
Right
Goodman?
now?
That's
Right.
That's Mr. Bean. That's Mr. Bean.
Right
if
now,
you don't
Rowan
know,
Atkinson or Mr. Bean back in his day.
I'm just joking on that. I do have a few serious. These are people who will not be in this thing, but I've picked three that would be cool if they cast. I mean, it is an HBO. I don't know. They're
Bill
not going to.
Shatner.
They're not going to get. They're not going to get these guys. But here it is: Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Hiddleston, and Tom Hardy. Those are my choices.
That would be cool. But
Tom
no,
Hardy,
could
I
see
think
those
it'd be a little gruff. Personally, I'd like to see them pitch it to Mark Strong. I think he would be.
It's a good choice, and
Tall. He's got an imposing voice. I think he could really play that.
and by far one of the more realistic choices.
And usually already bald.
Yeah,
And usually already.
he's got the look. I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's got a good voice. He's a good choice. Definitely.
Either him or was it Ray Fiennes? I think he'd be interesting.
That's interesting. Not bad. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. If anyone else out there has an idea for who should be Pinhead, then just give us a comment. All right. Our next subject is, first off, I want to say that this is a rumor, But it was recently revealed that a new female-led Star Wars series is in the works for Disney Plus from Russian Doll co-creator Leslye Headland. There haven't been any official details announced yet, but a rumor suggests that Disney's top executives aren't exactly happy with the new series. The rumor comes from WDW Pro on the WDW Magic forums. The outlet member says his source claims Disney's Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, who is the new leader, who hasn't really taken over yet, are, quote, livid, unquote, and that there was faster than normal movement for them to get high-level meetings going. Later in the thread, another user suggested it might have been something connected to the new Star Wars series from Headland. WDW Pro agrees to this, saying that the goobers at Lucasfilm reportedly hired Headland without even consulting the House of Mouse or their legal department, while also pointing out that she is Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant and comes with significant PR baggage, potentially legal baggage. So,
hey, she'll keep secrets though, right?
That's, I guess so.
I mean, she ain't gonna leak anything about this.
So, wow. So, what do you think about this rumor? Do you think there's some merit to it? And what's your thoughts on this new supposedly female-led series? And for that, I will go to Scott.
I think one, I don't care because it's a rumor.
Yeah.
Two, I think a all-female Star Wars is going to come at some point.
Right.
I mean, that just seems natural, especially with like we're starting to see more female lead Marvel movies and stuff like that. You have a great big audience that wants that. They're chomping at the bit for that. So I'm cool with that. All these rumor stuff, I don't care really, but I can see some like back production politics or whatever, because, you know, I'm assuming like you kind of just walk around Disney and you jump when they tell you to jump. And so if they did something out of sync of normal with the House on the Mouse, then yeah, they're probably in trouble. And they probably don't want anybody connected to Weinstein, you know, heading up anything in their department.
Right. Sean Wilson?
One of the problems that a lot of people are talking about with this Headland is that yes, being the assistant of Harvey Weinstein, she may have actually been one of the ones to coordinate these girls coming in for Weinstein.
She will keep secrets.
And also shushing all of the incidences that did occur in her, I think it was just over a year that she was an assistant or something. Now, do I believe all of that? No, not necessarily. Can I believe it? Sure. But, you know, like Scott said, these are all rumors. You know, I don't put a whole lot of validity to them. As far as, you know, if you make Disney mad, you will disappear. Men in black uniforms will come in and they will remove you. You will never be seen again.
Wow.
You know, you don't mess with their brand. I mean, we've talked a few times about how they would go to comic conventions and put cease and desist on artists who are just sketching, you know, their characters. They don't mess with their brand. They don't mess with any of their properties. So the fact that without consulting Disney, this woman was hired and she was put in charge of this project without being vetted, yeah, there's going to be some issues.
Yeah. Murph, what do you think?
I really didn't know who this woman was. I kind of looked her up a little bit. The Russian Doll series seems to be what she's really famous for, and I haven't really seen it much. Some of the background on it was kind of made me believe it was just kind of Groundhog Day for gamers.
That's exactly what it, I don't know about gamers, but it's definitely Groundhog Day, yes.
Mentioned something about her being a gamer or something like that.
Okay. Anyway, she works at a video game company, I think.
Oh, okay. That's probably the connection. Anyway, but I did like the comment about the goobers at Lucasfilm. It kind of makes you wonder who is Lucasfilm now. Everybody's moaning and
Right.
groaning
Don't-
about this
don't
person
answer-
and that person. And,
Don't answer that question yet, because that's my next question.
okay, because I like the term female-centric. We're coming up with the term now that says we have basically a female lead and female stuff going on, and
Right.
and man, that's everywhere anymore. So, and I used to really, really like it. I did a hero that you can take home and make out with once you've saved the world. You know, it's tough to do with Vin Diesel and all those guys, but you know, when it's a cool-looking chick, it's like,
Shut your
hey.
mouth.
Yeah, but it's really getting overloaded anymore. I think a lot of the series anymore are, here's these really super strong female characters, and then the guys are just a bunch of bumbling dummies that just fumble around and try and do
Right.
their best to get out of it. And I think
What?
even at its even at some of its most chauvinistic stuff,
You
the
don't
horror
want
films
the
and things, they
typical
were never-
CBS sitcom? Hot, smart woman, dumb, stupid, white male? You mean
Yeah, see, I don't watch CBS much, but I hear you. I
that's
totally
the formula actually for all sitcoms nowadays.
Yeah, and sci-fi channels drive me crazy with some of these stories. They actually start out pretty cool, and it's like, okay, is there anybody in there that's got a brain except for this chick here? What's going on? And I don't know. So I love we got a term now, female-centric. The goobers at Lucasfilm really caught my eye because I have that question too. What are these goobers doing sometimes?
Right.
But I also really like a lot of stuff they're doing. So since it's so vague, and they're really not saying what it's about or who it is or what it's going
Right.
to be, who cares until it happens, you know? It's going to be 50 times different.
Sure. I think that right now, if you lead the internet by saying this is a female-centric series,
Yeah.
that there's going to be a certain crowd that's going to want that to fail. Instead of just saying we've got a new, Star Wars series and there's we're going to have a woman in the lead, that's a very different thing. If this is a social justice thing, then people are bristly about that. If it just happens to be a great Star Wars story and a woman is the lead character, then I think everyone's pretty cool with that.
Yeah.
So
I'm fine with it.
I think that maybe the rumor that we have here is like the first shot across the bow, that if this is going to be an SJW thing, that the typical Star Wars crowd is not interested in that. With that said, who knows? Maybe there is something going on there. I can tell you this. There is no doubt that Kathleen Kennedy, who is the head of Lucasfilm right now, is in some trouble because, number one, Solo tanked hard, and the trilogy, the sequel trilogy, was kind of a disaster overall. So my question to you guys, throwing it back out to you, is whether this rumor is true or not, do you think that Kathleen Kennedy is going to stick around? And if she's not going to stick around, then who do you think should take over the Star Wars universe? And who wants to take that? Whoever wants that first.
I don't think she's going to last.
All right, we'll go to you, Murph.
She's had a lot of opportunity to make some really cool stuff, and the first one out of the gate seemed to be pretty good, seemed to be on the right track. It was definitely a rehashing of A New Hope and the original Death Star story, but it was still really cool. It was fun to watch. I saw it so many different times and continue to watch it when it comes on. And then as things progress through the series of movies of the trilogy, it just kind of lost its steam a little bit. The last one, I only saw the one time with you guys. Typically, go back and see it 2 or 3 times. And it's online, a couple of the streaming services, and I'm not going to throw down the $6 for it. And man, for Star Wars, that's kind of weird that it affected me that way, because I'm still, when I think back about it, I'm still not really sure what exactly I saw. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I remember some interviews with her where she was saying it was tough to kind of produce all this and throw it all together and all this because the canon wasn't there and it was tough to figure out what to do. And that boggles my mind at the limitless number of novels and comic books and stuff that's out there that is becoming accepted canon, backstories of characters and things to progress along.
There's so much canon already made for her
Exactly.
For her to
pick
say
one.
that is a buffoon.
Yeah, just pick one. Have you ever seen any of these things? And if you haven't, why are you at the front of this? So I don't know. I think Dave Filoni, and I think what's his face from Iron Man. I always forget his name in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I forget his name too.
They're
Favreau,
doing
John
great
Favreau.
work. Yeah, great work. Get those minds together because they're going to find other people just like them, and they're going to make stuff just as good. And I think that's what we all want. It's what I want. So but I think she's going to be around much.
I believe that I had read or heard that she only has like another year left on her contract. Once that contract is up, I don't see Disney renewing. Everything that she's touched so far has been, I don't want to say a flop. Obviously, it's made money, but it hasn't made the money that they projected it would make. And Hasbro released a statement, not too long ago that they can't even sell the toys.
No.
How do you not sell Star Wars?
That's a killer.
I still sell them at garage sales.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can't get rid of the merchandise, if no one wants to buy your stuff, then what are you doing?
I have a theory that the toys haven't been selling to children for a long time. I mean, yeah, they'll buy them here and there, but mainly it's late 30s, 40s, 50-year-old men who bought them when they were a kid. They're the ones buying them. They're the ones keeping them in packaging. They're the ones, I mean, my kids wanted a few of them, but they never wanted a whole bunch. Kids these days, they want a phone that they can play games and be social on. At least my kids, my teenagers. I'm just saying, yeah, they're probably having a hard time selling toys. There's also, at least here in America, not the big toy stores where you can go and just, like we
buy toys.
to buy toys.
Yep.
I don't know, all this, her saying like there's nothing canon.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of stuff. You could have, let me tell you something. Dark Empire by Dark Horse Comics followed up what happened after Return of the Jedi. Better than what we got. Okay? The books written by Timothy Zahn. Better than what we got. I'm not saying what they did was terrible. I mean, I watched it, I enjoyed it, but I also have the history of it. Now, if I wouldn't have watched them since a child, maybe I wouldn't have liked them as much. But they weren't great movies. Rogue One, great movie. The other three, Solo, kind of fun, but so I don't know. She's wrong. There's plenty of material out there.
Oh, yeah. And I saw Solo again not too long ago, and it was a little better the second time around. I was kind of enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time. And I don't know if it's because I was just relaxed about it more or what, but there's a lot more I want to know now.
I think that we get that a lot when we rewatch a movie with no expectations.
Yeah.
During this sabbatical from work where I'm up late, I find myself always having some DC movie on in the background, and it's not as bad as I thought it was the first time.
And the popcorn's a lot more affordable.
Right, no kidding. I think the biggest indictment against Kathleen Kennedy is it's very clear now that when they set out to do a trilogy of movies, that they had zero plan whatsoever as to what the character arcs were going to be, or where they were going to go with that story, who the bad guy was, what these characters were supposed to do. They literally remade every damn film. Every time they did a film, they remade the whole point of the series. And I think that in this day and age, when she could walk down a proverbial hallway and go talk to Kevin Feige about the importance of being able to make a cohesive set of films and how that can pay off for you both creatively and financially, that I think that I think that there's no excuse for saying we're going to do a trilogy. I mean, why do a trilogy just for the purpose of doing it? You have to tell a story that goes from point A to point B. And, as much haranguing as George Lucas takes about the prequels, at least the prequels had a character arc there. It had some stories that they told. The characters changed. He had a point. He went somewhere with those. He did it in a very poor manner. It wasn't directed well. The acting wasn't directed well.
Crazy.
and it wasn't, and the dialogue was the script was abysmal, but the story was there, and the settings and the ideas and the action was there. So I think that Kathleen Kennedy failed, despite the fact that I did enjoy the sequels, the sequel trilogy. In general, I would have loved for them to have had an idea of where they were going with the thing, and it's exceptionally clear that they had no idea.
It's like they were being booked by a moody Vince McMahon. Like, one day he likes it, I love it, that's great, let's do it, let's push him, and then the next moment it's like, no, he showed up late, let's change it. We're scripting it, we're changing it all.
Right. I don't get how, you have a literal, how much did they pay for that? 14 or 4 billion? I think they spent
Lucas,
for that
lots.
thing. I don't know how you invest in that and go, we'll just make it up as we go along. That's cool. It's all good.
It's Star Wars. They'll go see it.
They should have a plan for the next 5 movies, let alone 3.
The next 100 movies.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
Yep.
Feige pulled off 10 years of movies, 22 films, 23 films.
Yes.
If you're not doing that, then you suck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I'm amazed too at all the trouble, and I don't know what you want to call it, with the Obi-Wan series and all that stuff on TV. It's like, okay, you got a series where you can knock out 9, 10, 12 episodes.
Yeah.
And with their new digital environments that they just turn on and you act in it, and the post stuff is cut down considerably.
Right.
What are you fighting about? Get a good story, make sure it lines up with what's going on, and get after it. Oh, what's this? There's so much whining. It's like, stop it.
Steve says that they were afraid to go too far from what people were familiar with, and there's no doubt about that. It was a soft reboot. I said that from the beginning, but that's fine.
I kind of forgot there were other people listening in on this.
Soft reboot is okay, but take it somewhere. Don't just retread stuff.
Show me something. It's
for
Star
3
Wars.
damn films.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's see. Back to our deal here. I think they've already been mentioned. My vote for who should take over is either Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau, and I say in that case, pick someone.
Yeah,
pick them. Don't make it a council of people. That's always a disaster. Put it on one person. I don't care, and let them take the glory or let them take the blame, but put one person in charge of that. And we know that both of those people are good creatively and not just good as a producer. Which I think is important.
There was some water cooler talk that the executives at Lucasfilm had gone over to the Marvel think tank and actually had approached Feige. And so everybody was kind of in a tussle thinking, oh crap, they're going to get Feige to not only run the MCU, but run the Lucasfilm. And what I think that they were doing was they might have been introducing somebody, maybe Filoni, maybe Favreau, and saying, all right, how did you do this? How far did you plan this out? What breaks did you give yourself? What outs if an actor didn't work out or whatever? And I think that that's probably more of what they were talking about, to which perhaps moving forward with The Mandalorian, with any other project that they've got coming up, maybe they're going to stick to that. They're going to have that kind of roadmap moving forward.
They got a clean slate now. They can go do whatever they want and write their own history.
It's time to bring it. There's no doubt about that. And if you got to take 5 years off and figure out what the hell you're doing, then do it, and get your ship going in the right direction.
Don't go 5 years, for Christ's sakes. You got some streaming to fill in.
Steve Campbell says the best of them was the one that veered the most off of what we knew, which was Rogue One, and I think most people loved Rogue One.
Well, see, what I think
totally new characters, and
what made Rogue One so special was it had nothing to do with anything before. It was its own animal. And even though it had that one sequence that connected it to the original trilogy, other than that, there was no mention of any other characters. There wasn't any consideration of any of the Skywalkers or any of this other anything that we'd already seen. It was just a completely separate animal, and because they did that, they had free reign to do whatever they wanted.
So let me ask you this: be 10 years old again, be 12 years old. Out of the new trilogy, what action figure do you want to buy to play with at home? Now, take just Rogue One. There's multiple action figures you want to buy and play with at home.
Yep.
You're talking about the toy sales? Rogue One had characters.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, cool. I
agree with that.
I want the Sensei blind faithful Jedi guy. I want the really rockin' big gun guerrilla warfare guy. I want these characters.
Right.
Cassian and stuff. the strong female, right? I don't want Finn. He's a coward.
No one wants Finn.
He rode a space horse on a Star Destroyer. How is that a coward?
They finally give us a second African American hero in Star Wars, and he's a coward. And they gave him the one chance where he could blow himself up and save everybody and prove he's not a coward, and they chickened out on it.
Sean and I just talked about this last night.
I was literally going off about that last night, about how he had as a character, he had the perfect opportunity to be a legend in the Star Wars universe by taking that craft and sacrificing himself for the troops and taking out that cannon.
It would have been a poignant moment, and I'd like to point out that if that had happened, it wouldn't have affected the rest of the film. No. Everything else that happened in the film could have still happened. It wouldn't have upended everything. You still could have had the showdown between Luke and Kylo Ren. And you still could have had Rey's moment where she got them out of the back of the deal. So,
but it would have also have created that
poignant moment
where we just lost one of our closest friends.
This is serious now.
Yeah, he gave himself up for something bigger, and now who knows what's going to happen to the rest of the. We have created these new people. We don't know if they're going to survive the film. We don't know if they're going to survive the film.
Yeah.
Right, it's the Game of Thrones effect. Like anyone can go. Benjamin Soto, hey, thanks for chiming in. Says it's probably not a popular opinion, but I really like Solo. Scott, weren't you just saying that you kind of?
Murphy said that he watched it a second time.
Yeah.
I didn't hate Solo, like hate it, but I mean, the neckbeard in me wanted to gripe about it and this and that. I felt like Solo. It was kind of like finding out that Darth Vader was a bratty 10-year-old kid. We saw too much of Han Solo. I don't want to see that. I want it to be, I don't know. He's just a scoundrel. He got to where he was because he did, and I can create that up here. I don't need a movie about it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, it kind of demystified stuff which didn't need to be explained and was probably much better as a throwaway line rather than an entire movie.
I've said for a while, the only reason why Solo didn't do well at the theaters is because no one wanted to see that movie. It wasn't something that anybody was clamoring for. As far as a movie itself, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I bought it. I mean, I don't have a problem.
It was a fun movie.
Sure.
But you take the one character with the most personality, Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and you try to develop something in the background, and you're just against the wall to begin with. You could have done that with any other character. You could have done that with Lando, fine, and we wouldn't have bellyached. But Solo didn't. No,
I agree. I completely agree.
Benjamin Soto says he'd like to see a Dash Rendar movie.
Oh, but there's no good canon background. That's what that lady said. Exactly. A Dash Rendar movie would be amazing.
I'd be up for that too. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Because isn't his story in between Empire and Jedi, or is it between?
It's around that time, I think.
Right.
I believe so.
That would be great, and
I
because we
agree.
got Rogue One for Star Wars, we could get the Dasher Rendar movie.
Yeah, I agree. I'm for that.
Or a series. You can do a series. Don't have to have everything be a movie.
Right.
Do a couple little stories. Do a couple hours here, a couple hours there, and see if people like it.
Someone have some pizza coming, or
Yeah,
that was my dog going out. That's the buzzer that catches crooks in my garage.
I gotcha.
Jim's putting some heat on you, Murph.
Yeah.
He says, Murph, I love your background banner. Is there any way you could make it any bigger, or more colorful, or more obvious?
I could get a little closer. I couldn't figure out what to do with the background and stuff, and I've had this banner forever, and I've never ever used it. Kevin's like, well, put it up. So I'm like, yeah. So I stuck some holes in my ceiling, and there it is.
I love the dad joke. Art Turney at Draw. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Murph, we're going to go to you again because last week we were talking about Rosario Dawson, who has been tapped to play Ahsoka Tano in the new Mandalorian Season 2. And I know you're a big fan of that character in the Clone Wars series, so I'd just like to take us back to last week and get your opinion on that subject.
I'm not sure. Watching the Clone Wars now, especially, Ahsoka had a major battle with Maul, and it was amazing. It was one of the best lightsaber duels I've ever seen, live action or animated. There was a lot of things in her movements and stuff that are typical of Ahsoka, and then there were some things in there that I kind of recognized as being Anakin and a little bit of Kenobi, too. Yeah. And then with her flipping around, there's a lot of kind of Yoda. So it's kind of cool seeing how she's kind of putting it all together. And as she's moving and doing stuff, I'm trying to put Rosario in that and trying to see how maybe I can think she's going to pull it off. And I don't know that I just see it. But here's the deal. Let me preface it with this. I wasn't really sure about Gal Gadot either. And when I first saw her little leather outfit, this is what Wonder Woman's going to look like, I thought it was kind of tall Xena. So I was like, really? And then when she dropped out of the sky and took the blast and saved Batman, I got all tingly. So I'm totally fine with it now. She blew me away. So I'm kind of hoping that's what happens. But there's a certain physical embodiment that Ahsoka has. She's a thin little girl, and I realize this is when she's older. Right. So what is she going to be? It's past Rebels, because she seemed to be taller and a lot more female as opposed to girl. Right. So what is she supposed to be, 35 or 40 by the time she gets to the Mandalorian? I'm not really sure.
Sounds about right.
To Gruda, how do they age? I don't know. That's what you get with all the aliens. But I had a list that I thought I'd share with you of who I thought might make a good one, just to start with physical embodiment. Yeah, bring it. My first one is Mackenzie Davis, and for anybody who knows, that's the girl that was in the last Terminator. She had like a horror movie.
I like her. Yeah, I like her.
I do too. And she's got enough of experience to where you know she's going to be able to do it, but yet she can be totally associated with it. She doesn't have this thing that really defined her in her past. Another one to me would be Karen German. I think that's her first name. She is the main detective in the series Lucifer. I always thought she was cool. She was very snippy and had a lot of comebacks, and she's got the square face and the blue eyes, and if you stuck some mandrels and some Leikus on her, I'm like, that's her, especially, if she's in her 30s or 40s by now. Cool. The other one I thought would just kind of be fun. I was a really big fan of Miss Maisel, and I think it's Rachel Brosnahan. Really? She's sassy. She's cute. If you put her in there, I have no idea if she's athletic or not. I have no, if there's any training involved or whatnot. But I think that would be because she has that kind of attitude. She's very comedic about it in that series. But then she was also in, it was the Kevin Spacey show with his presidents on Netflix.
House of Cards.
House of Cards. She played a hooker that was hired by his underlings and things, and ended up with a whole scene there. And she was a totally different person. So her range to get serious and to kind of bring it a little bit was really pretty cool. And then the other day, through all this social distancing, Friends with Benefits popped up, and I always thought Mila Kunis is cute. And then my mind started to wander a little bit with her big eyes, put some contacts in there, because she's kind of petite, she's thin, but she's still cute as button. And like I say, put the stuff on her head, let's see what she looks like. So, all right. I don't know. I have high hopes. I just, like I say, as I watch what I know of Ahsoka and the character has been developed, it's tough for me to see forward as Rosaria Dawson really emulating that. But, Gal Gadot fooled me, so there you go. But
All right.
food for thought.
Hey, I like that you came with a list. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to the next subject, which is, why does DC struggle with making movies? I think they've done a little bit better lately, but in general, they've had big problems kicking off their movie series, and we really don't know where they're going right now. So this is a question that's directly from Quora. I took it right off of them, and I thought I'd throw it out to you guys. Who wants this one? Anyone?
I'll go.
Sean?
The other day we were talking about how if you look at all of the current DC Universe films, none of them have any heart. There's no real emotional moment in any of the films, with the exception of Wonder Woman. There's a moment towards the end, which was beautiful, but it felt very shortened. Like they should have developed it more. But you didn't get that in Justice League. You didn't get any emotion in Batman versus Superman. You didn't get any emotion in Aquaman. They were so focused, I think, on just the action and the sets and making it look as pretty as possible, that they forgot the human element and what drives us or compels us to do what we do. And I mean, if you look at any of the Marvel movies, they're tugging on your heartstrings as much as they can.
Sure.
And Disney itself is wonderful about taking just an average, ordinary moment and saying, all right, now let's see if we can make you cry. And that's
right.
That's really, I think, what makes the Marvel film so much more watchable or relatable to a lot of people than the DC stuff. The DC stuff is just, let's make it as gritty and as dirty and grungy and dark as we can. Whereas Marvel's like, I want to feel whenever I go to this movie. I don't want to just, be thrown in the gutter and stomped on a time or two.
Scott?
Scott, what do you got, man?
I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't think the DC movies are necessarily bad. I think we've been spoiled by really good Marvel movies. Because, like I said, being not working right now because of the virus that cannot be named, and everybody staying at home, I find myself like, sci-fi is like replaying almost all these movies. And like I have one in the background as I'm like reading or whatever. And I find myself going, Batman, Superman, not as bad as I made it out to be. Because I came out of the theater like really hating that movie. And so I guess my expectations maybe were too high. I don't think it's a bad idea to be grim and different, because you don't want to copy kind of what Marvel has going on. But I do feel like Superman should have been a little bit more uplifting, while Batman stayed, grim, and then you can, find your place somewhere else. But yeah, Sean might be right with doesn't have like heart. Sometimes I get tired of having so much heart in some of those Disney movies. And I don't mind a little bit of, comedic moments, but I felt like some of the Marvel movies near the end, the last few, were a little bit too much. I think as comic book fans, we read so much stuff that we process in between issues, and then we process even more when we talk to friends and stuff. We sometimes make comics to be bigger than they really are. Like stories like, oh, this is the greatest story I've ever read. While it was still good, it maybe wasn't super great. And then when we get to movies and see it all in 2 hours, we have to take time to process it, put it down, maybe see it again a few months later, a few years later, and then go, it really wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. So
I don't I don't think any of the DC movies are bad necessarily.
I don't think anything's bad.
I've enjoyed them. I believe I own all of them. So I mean, it's
I
not
own a lot of them.
It's not like I've completely washed my hands of them. It's just that whenever you're talking about what makes the viewer kind of latch on to the film, the story, if you look at the Marvel stuff, they've got that relatability within their characters.
Sure.
And DC has not pushed that. They haven't pushed what makes these characters relatable to you and me. But they've just focused on, okay, Batman's got to be dark and brooding, and he's got to beat the crap out of all these bad guys. Superman's got to have all of these abilities, and he's going to be looked upon as a god. Like I said, whenever you get to Wonder Woman, they actually allowed a moment between Wonder Woman and
Bruce,
Chris Pine, where there was an emotional Steve Trevor. There was a moment where those characters were able to actually explore an emotional bond between them, which made them relatable.
There we go.
Hey!
Which makes them relatable to all of.
If you're playing the drinking game at home, you can take 2 swigs right now.
I mean, but what you're saying, Sean, is kind of what's true about the comics, right? Everybody feels like Peter Parker,
right,
and wants to put on the mask and go be Spider-Man. The story's about Peter Parker, not about Spider-Man.
Right.
Whereas you read a DC Comics, it's about how Superman's a god. We don't really give a crap about Clark Kent. I mean, right? We don't care so much about Bruce Wayne. We love Batman. And one of the best Batman stories I've ever read was by Andrew Vox, which was a story about Bruce Wayne being a detective and not being Batman.
But see, I disagree, because that's one of the reasons why I don't read DC Comics, is because I don't care for Superman. I want to know about Clark Kent. I don't want to know about Batman. I want to know about.
I agree with you. I'm saying I agree with your point.
Oh, okay. I'm just, yeah. If DC movies would do that, if they would do more relatable characterizations, I think we talked last week that Ben Affleck I thought was an amazing Batman because he was an amazing Bruce Wayne. Anybody can wear the cowl, that doesn't matter. But he embodied Bruce Wayne, and I thought he brought a lot to that. Unfortunately, we didn't get, for example, a relationship with him and Diana Prince, or with Selena Kyle, or any of that. Maybe on down the road, that was they were going to do that, but we never got to see that, so we never felt an attachment to these people. They were just banking on the fact, well, everybody likes Batman, so they're going to like our movie.
Well, I mean, in all of us, if you grew up any point in the 80s, we all feel a little bit like Star-Lord, right? I mean, we can relate to him. That's what we like, right? And we all have this fantasy that we're this hunky, strong person, so we can relate to Thor. Deep down, like, I could go save the maiden or do this or whatever. Or we've been drunk enough to say, like, yeah, I'm kind of like Thor when I'm drunk. So.
Yeah, I can definitely see myself as Thor after the last film with the video games and stuff. Benjamin Soto says DC movies are like that friend that shows up at the last minute to the party, empty-handed and wearing yesterday's clothes.
That's pretty good analogy.
It's pretty good. And to follow up, he says they feel rushed and unpolished and seem to exist to ride the wave of the MCU. There's no doubt about the fact that they were tasked, that Warner Brothers tasked those creators with, we need the MCU right damn now. And instead of saying, we're going to do a Superman film, and then we're going to do a Batman film, and then we're going to do a Wonder Woman film, and then in about 4 years, we're going to do a Justice League film. That's not what they did. They said, we did a Superman film, we don't hate it, so let's go immediately to Batman versus Superman, and we're going to inject Wonder Woman in there, and we're going to mention Aquaman, and we're going all in right now, and that's a disaster. Murph, did you get a chance to talk about this?
Batman has always been my favorite dude, basically because he is just a dude. I was always amazed at the fact that all the other superheroes just kind of gave him his room and really didn't push him too much.
Right.
Superman always annoyed
him.
me. Exactly, because you just didn't know how he'd react or what he knew about you or how he could fight you. And Superman never really impressed me because how much of a hero are you if nothing can ever happen to you?
Right.
It's, bravery comes to the fact that you feel scared and you're terrified, but yet you do it anyway. And I think DC you create a character that's basically indestructible, then you have to get a villain that is too. And then there's only two people that can fight. There's only those two people that can have anything to do with it. Otherwise you just get smashed. And the Superman movie, the remakes and stuff like that, what annoyed me most about those is they happen too fast. The action was just so fast. And I get it.
Right.
They're super and they're really fast. And that's probably what it would look like. But I'm there to watch the movie. Can I please see the punch? I don't want to see a blur and then the dude go flying 100 yards into a train and have everything explode. I want to see what happened. I think there's a lot of cool stuff in the telling of the story that just gets lost when it just goes whoosh right past you. I'm with Wilson. I think Ben Affleck's Batman really surprised me as far as the quality of him. That first scene when you see him in Batman versus Superman when he's kind of stuck up in the wall when the cops are in the room looking for him, that was awesome. Because the whole point of the cowl and the bat persona is to scare the people he's after. And I don't know. I going back and looking, I agree with Scott too. They're not that bad, but there's just something missing. And I think maybe Wilson's right. Maybe it's the heart. Maybe it's the fact that I didn't really kind of feel bad for anybody.
Right.
I don't know. But that's my thing. If they could be a Batman Ahsoka movie, I'm in.
I think that the problem with this, I'm going to mention Kevin Feige again. It's about the third time I've mentioned him. I think the DC films, the problem that they have goes right back to the leadership at the very beginning, and that Warner Brothers decided that they were going to make movies that were by committee. So while they had Zack Snyder involved in that process, they also had Jeff Johns and a bunch of other, people in suits that were sitting around that had no idea what the hell they were doing and making creative decisions and they weren't being made for the purpose of, hey, this is going to be really effective storytelling. They were making creative decisions because they wanted the MCU and they wanted it now. And they weren't willing to wait or to build it up or to do it right. I mean, the roadmap's out there. We know exactly what to do, how to build your cinematic universe. And doing it in 2 films is not going to work. You got to do it over a series of films. You got to have people who know and enjoy the characters who are making these decisions. I think Zack Snyder, I'm one of the few people that really liked what Zack Snyder did with these characters, but I would have appreciated if they had allowed him to see his entire vision out on these characters. More recently, I think they've decided that they do need someone who's in charge, and so they've hired this Walter Hamada guy who has managed to land Aquaman in a satisfying way. They finally broke $1 billion, so congratulations for that. Shazam didn't make a lot of money, but I think that it was a hit with some people. I think that with kind of a younger crowd, people enjoyed it. And then, of course, you have Joker, which won an Academy Award for Best Actor.
Yeah.
So congratulations for that. We still do not have a cohesive universe, though.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I can say Dave Filoni for Star Wars. I don't know who the person is for DC, but I really think that if they are going to do this, unfortunately right now I think Hamada's plan is to do them one at a time. Just, do his best to pull it across the finish line, and I think that that's okay, but I also think that overall that's going to be very dissatisfying to have Wonder Woman off in her own corner and Aquaman off in his own corner and a new Batman that exists kind of in his own universe. I think that they're leaving a lot of good stuff and fun times and satisfying creative moments on the table by doing that plan. What do you guys think?
Interesting. I've always wondered when one superhero is fighting the villain that's going to destroy the Earth, where's everybody else? You know, the Earth is about.
That's always the.
Yeah, the Earth's
always
about
the
to be
question.
destroyed. When you got lunch today, or what are you doing? So I just always assumed that while this person's dealing with that villain, they all got their other villains, and it's only the really bad ones that they got to get together on. So.
Right.
I don't know, but yeah, I think I think I didn't think about this till you started talking there, Dirk. But the differences in so many different movies playing the same character and having a different take on it all, you're right. The cohesiveness just kind of goes right out the window. You're not really sure what to expect the next time you see them. So
right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to get all of Steve's comments out here. He's got a lot of comments on this subject. I know Steve is a big DC fan, which is awesome.
Let the weirdness flow. I love it.
That was one of my favorite lines from Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever Star-Lord found out he could make stuff, first thing out of his mouth, I'm going to make some weird blank.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic.
Jury says that a shout out to Henry Cavill and Amy Adams for having chemistry. I thought both of those were great.
Yep.
They worked great together, but they didn't explore that relationship. You never felt,
they didn't have time to.
Right. You never felt that connection. And then next thing you know, he's asking her, or he was going to ask her to marry him, and then events didn't occur, and it's like, how do you go from 0 to 60 and then ratchet back down to 5 miles per hour? You can't.
They took a bath together, don't you remember? That's all it takes.
I do.
That's character development. That's deep.
There you go.
In very milky water, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
That was.
It was super ass milky. What's up with that?
That's how it is in Metropolis.
That's a good point.
The water's bad.
They need to filter that water. It was terrible.
Metro water supply.
All right. Our next subject is something that is another question from Quora, or I'm sorry, this is a article that was shared on Quora about how to be a great dungeon master. We haven't talked a lot about gaming, and I know that I'm not sure about Murphy, but I know the rest of us have done some role playing, and I just wanted to get this sort of stuff out there. Murph, have you ever done role playing
in a game or just in general?
Oh, hey,
not really. I collected some.
Some of us have done both.
Well, hey, let the freak start. Wasn't that what it was?
That's right.
I collected some HeroClix. I did some designs way back in the day for a guy at Iowa State that was making some Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and that's basically about all the exposure I've ever had of it.
Right.
Familiar with the dice, kind of know how it all works, but I never really played it much. So it's not a lot of expertise in here.
You don't have a lot of suggestions for dungeon masters?
Not really. I play Tomb Raider sometimes. I don't think that applies.
That's cool.
Again, I can date my hero afterwards, so there you go.
Right, there it is. All right, Scott. I'm turning it over to you, buddy.
So your question is how to be a great
dungeon master,
okay,
or a game master, let's say, in general.
Sure. I read the article, and I pretty much agreed with everything he said. I mean, you're just a storyteller. The dungeon master, the game master, all you're there to do is to walk your players through a story. And sometimes you have players that are clueless, or maybe they just want to get in bar fights and steal stuff. If that's what your crowd is, you try to make a story so it feels good for them. You want your players to come back for the next session. You want them chomping at the bit to I know we just played 8 hours, but I can't wait to play again. And that's really, if you do that, you're a great dungeon master. Where a lot of dungeon masters or game masters run into the problem is they think you're playing a game with them.
Right.
Because the game master cannot win and he cannot lose. You just direct the story. And if somebody wants to buy a jumbo jet and you don't want them to do that, even though they're a millionaire, you come up with a reason why. It's like, well, I don't know why, but your bank account is empty right now. Well, it shouldn't be. I am the richest man in the world. Well, all I can tell you is they're not giving it to you. So you must have some type of weird infrastructure on your bank account that's messed you up.
Right.
Because I'm not going to mention his name, but we used to play role-playing games with a person who would create characters almost in a way of like their fantasy.
Right.
And then they would take it out on us. Like
Yep.
when we would beat the villain,
Yep.
they would punish us. And there would always be a sidebar of like, so after the story, so-and-so is brooding and telling you about, well, they fell right into my trap. I wanted them to save all those civilians and give them their money back. And it's like, no, you
Right.
didn't. We stopped your butt. So
Right.
all you're doing is telling a story. Really, if you're good, people don't even pay attention to the rules. There's often times when I've ran superhero role-playing games and, like, all right, what are you doing? Oh, we're going to walk into the warehouse. And I'd stop and I'd roll dice for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
And other times I would roll dice for something meaningful. So, like, people couldn't predict what was going on.
Yeah.
You just tell a story. You let your players control it. And sometimes they're going to solve problems way quicker than you ever anticipated.
Sure.
You thought it was going to last 10 hours. It lasts 10 minutes. And now you have to improvise. And I found that being game master or a dungeon master, or whatever you want to call it, sometimes you get some of the best stories by just improvising. You let them
Right.
go. You watch their impulses. Oh, a guy's looking at you in the corner, and they go crazy. Why is he looking at us? Let's go talk to him. Let's beat him up. Let's rob him. Or whatever it is.
Right.
How did I never get into this game?
I mean, all you are is you're out in the sandbox playing make-believe with your friends. You just have
Right.
dice and rules to help you kind of guide this story.
Right.
And I'm not so much into it as I used to be, but I don't think I was ever a bad game master because I let my players dictate what they were. And, sometimes you have new players that create a character that have no background. You just have to encourage that background. And if they can't come up with a background, maybe they're not creative enough, you create one for them. You have adversaries.
Right.
Oh, did you know you had a twin brother? Well, he's coming to kill you now because you yelled at mom back in the day or something like that. So
Yeah.
anyways, I could rant forever on this, but really just being a good game master is watching your players, entertaining your players. You're just there to kind of keep them in the lane. It's like they're a bowling ball. You don't know if you're going to hit a strike or a spare, but either one's fine because they're happy to be doing something. You just don't want it to go into the gutter.
Yeah.
Last thing I will say is there is some game masters who are really in the last 10 years I played in a campaign where I've had a game master super specific in the fact of like we were playing a Call of Cthulhu game. And if you didn't walk over to maybe the picture on the wall and rip open that picture to find the clue that was hidden inside the picture frame,
Right.
he would never give it to you.
It was going to go on forever.
So sometimes you have, as a game master, you have to say like, oh, well, Dirk, your player stumbles and he hits the wall by accident. Roll your dice. And the roll doesn't mean anything, but you think it does.
Right.
And when you roll the dice, oh, I got a 7. You go, okay, well, this picture frame fell and it shattered. And now you notice that something shiny's there. And then your character goes, oh, duh, I just found a clue. Man, that game master was really clever to give it to me that way because I stumbled. And really, you were just tired of him looking around for an hour and a half.
Right.
Yeah, we played with a guy who was so strict that, like, after the session was over, he had a real fun time of saying, like, let me tell you where you missed clues. And really, I don't think you want to do that either because you don't want to give away what you're doing as a storyteller.
Right.
Anyways,
Absolutely.
I could rant forever on this.
No, that's cool, man. Sean, what do you think?
The few that I've played under, they've been very well read. As far as they've read a lot of science fiction. If we were playing a science fiction game, they read a lot of fantasy. If we were playing a fantasy game, they're very well read on the topic. So they were able to create situations like Scott was saying. They would create situations on the fly that would make the game interesting and make it fun. You wanted to you wanted to sit there, and whenever he said, "Okay, we're gonna stop there," you're like, "Dude, I'm doing stuff. I'm making things happen. Let's not stop here." And everybody else is like, "But the sun is coming up. We need to go home. We need to eat." You know, there have been a few times like that. They've really got as Scott said, a great storyteller, and they're just moving the pieces through the story.
Yeah. I started doing role playing back before I was a teenager. Really got serious. I really got seriously into Dungeons and Dragons first off, and then I don't know, Gamma World and Traveler and a bunch of other games. Later on, ran my own campaign called Demon Town, and also a Star Wars campaign and stuff. I've been on both ends of this, both as a player and a game master. And I think that Scott brought up a lot of really good things. I've got some stuff to kind of add to it. If you're going to be a game master, be prepared. Know the rules, even if you don't always use the rules, which is kind of okay. Be prepared also by having everything kind of mapped out for you, but also be prepared to be nimble if these players do stuff that you're not prepared for. The second thing is, remember that you're supposed to be rooting for the characters. You're not supposed to be their adversary. Ideally, it's not a you versus them thing. You should be on their side. You should be hoping for their success, even if you're throwing obstacles in their way. And Scott also mentioned something where the game master is playing a character, by proxy or whatever, where they're kind of living through the villain, or maybe they have an NPC that's in the group who is always solving the problems and stuff. That's not fun. You're supposed to be there to make an enjoyable experience for the players. While conflict is good, make sure that that the characters who you have for your game can function within a group. So some people like to create characters that just like to absolutely destroy the group dynamic. And I'd like to point out that even the Hulk can function within a group dynamic. If your character cannot function within a group dynamic, then make another character, please. Tell them this ain't gonna work. Also, when you're looking at a campaign, you have 4 or 5 characters or something. Then take a look at these characters and start thinking about the future on these characters. What would be a good character arc for them? So if for example, you're playing Star Wars, you've got a young Jedi or something. Create some characters. Someone has messed up.
Let me have to plug in.
Someone's messed up their damn thing, and it's completely thrown me off. It's probably Scott. Thanks, Scott. Take a look at your characters. Make a satisfying character arc. Good God. If you've got
I'm dead serious. My microphone went blank. I couldn't hear anything you said the last 3 minutes, and I was freaking out. You can check your chat. What did you say? I make terrible, crazy characters?
I did not say that, but that may be true.
Oh.
I can think of, going back to that, I can think of a friend of our named Steve Martin, who created a character named Pockets. And Pockets was kind of a Wolverine sort of character who didn't like being with the group. He was he was all on his own and all that sort of stuff. And unfortunately with Pockets, he didn't want to function within the group dynamic, and he was going to burn everything down no matter what. And it's like, you can be kind of the Wolverine character, but you can at the last minute can kind of get your act together, and participate in the storyline. So anyway, back to my...
That's the deal. I always tell people if I'm running a game, it's like, okay, before we start, I know you all have different personalities, but remember, you want to be here. So act like you want to be a part of this group and solve these problems.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, and don't rob everyone else's fun time by trying to hog everything. That's no fun either. Everyone should, and conversely, as a game master, you should make sure that everyone has their moment. You try to, if you do have a Star Wars deal and you've got a Jedi in there, the Jedi shouldn't be solving all the problems in the group. You should allow other people to have their moment. And I mean, I guess my final thing is have fun at this. If you're not having fun at these things, then there's no reason to even do this. So try to make sure that everyone is having fun. If you're the game master, that's your responsibility. What are you thinking, Scott?
Oh, I'm laughing. I see one of our viewers who's role-played with me.
You'll have to explain what that means.
I was running a DC role-playing game, and if you are an early reader of the Justice League International series that came out late 80s, there was a character named Blue Jay. He shrunk down really small to the size of a blue jay, and he had like these blasters or whatever, and Steve was playing a character that kind of was picking on him, and he got mad and he fired off a little energy blast right at him, and I believe knocked him out or something like that, but kind of put him in his place. So that's what that comment is about. Don't mess with Blue Jay, because as soon as that happened, I rolled the character and he rolled like doubles, so I got to roll again. And
nice.
In that game system, and like really put him on his butt, and he's like, holy hell, that guy hasn't helped us at all. Oh, did he kill you? Okay, he's saying he killed me. Okay, well, that's probably true then. As a game master, I try not to kill my players, but when they do something really stupid, sometimes they deserve it.
That's true. Yeah, you can't let them be invincible either, because then that's no fun. I mean, if people are making stupid mistakes or they're trying to be a pain, then yeah, you got to slap their wrist.
Exactly.
For sure. All right, our next subject is, who is your favorite comic book artist? I know that all of us follow comics, and some of us have done comic work and stuff. I think it'd be interesting to hear kind of a rundown of comic artists that we like, and maybe if you can, choose your favorite comic artist. And for that, I'm going to go first to Sean.
This is a question I've struggled with for many years. But I would say that if I have to just pick one, the one that meant the most, or actually still means the most to me as an illustrator, would be Jason Pearson. I had seen his artwork in. It was a DC comic. I don't remember which one, but I had seen his artwork on the cover, and it caught me. And one of the first DC comics I had purchased as an adult, and I was just blown away by his art. I just thought it was very unique and really kind of caught my attention. After that point, I followed him, even to this day. Other than that, huge fan of Greg Capullo,
good choice.
John Buscema, Michael Golden, my God, Mobius, Jean Girard, Tim Vigil, Bernie Wrightson. I mean, I could, like I said, I could go on for days.
Murph, what do you think?
I had forgotten all about Jason Pearson. Shame on me. So thanks for reminding me. That was
Wilson was one of his groupies. Every convention we went to.
Met the guy. I've got a picture of him and Wilson pointing at each other at the convention, like, who's this guy? The first one I wrote down was Adam Hughes. I know a lot of his stuff is only covers, but I always got to stop and look at Adam Hughes' stuff. Terry Dodson.
Good
was
choice.
Another one of mine that I thought was pretty good. Frank Cho.
Oh, Frank Cho.
Another good choice.
Mitch Bird.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can never remember, because I never pronounced it to begin with, the guy who did Battle Chasers.
Oh, Joe Madureira.
Madureira, yeah.
There you go. JM. Let's just say JM.
Another good choice.
So that's what I wrote down. But yeah, my first one that I thought of right away to write down was Adam Hughes.
Yeah. So that would be maybe your top guy.
Probably, yeah.
All right, Scott, you're up next.
Oh man, there's too many. Way too many, but I'm gonna just name a few names. Milo Manera.
That's a good one.
He's a big one. John Buscema, you guys have mentioned several times. Man, I had him on the tip of my tongue right before you came to me. I should have wrote these down.
Should have written them down.
Kevin Maguire had a run. Well, probably had several runs, but the run I remember him for was that Justice League International comic. He was paired up with two great writers in J.M. Matisse, I believe is how you pronounce his name, and Keith Giffen. They were writing it. It was such a different, unique style that we've never seen in comics, I think, in a long time. And his facial expressions are just top-notch. I mean, you guys mentioned Frank Cho. I know my girlfriend loves Frank Cho. I mean, Frank Cho.
Really?
She backed his Kickstarter. The more and more I see of what Frank Cho does with a ballpoint pen, just an average pen that you sign your checks with,
right,
just blows my brain. I mean, this guy is like a modern day Alfonso Mucha? Mm-hmm. Is that the guy? Alphonse Mucha. I mean, he's just, it's mind blowing, Frank Cho's work. I mean, I could sit here and talk forever about comic artists I enjoy. I really love the energy that Eric Larson has in his artwork and stuff. But other people would say they don't like him because of his style. And I mean, your style is all your mistakes that you do and everybody loves still. So, I mean, that's just your style. So those are some of the ones I'm like fans of and will purchase stuff with. I mean, Fiona Staples, who's been doing Saga, is also incredible at what she's been doing as a storyteller and stuff. And I mean, to me, there's comic artists and then there's storytellers, and they're two different, things. I mean, Keith Giffen's one of the best plotters and probably breakdown artists of all time, if you ask me. So, anyways, I could go on forever.
Let's go through some of the comments here.
Good ones.
Steve Campbell said Perez and Kirby. Ronnie says Jack Kirby, the old square finger artist, he calls him.
Do y'all appreciate Kirby more as you've gotten older?
Yes.
I mean, because I remember
Definitely.
like when I was a kid, he wasn't so cool because it was blocky and silly, and you found like the old Omax comics and
I agree with that.
dollar bins and stuff. And I feel really bad. Like obviously I didn't develop a time machine because I would have went back in time and kicked my own ass for like even teasing some of these old comics that he did when he was in his 60s, I really appreciate a lot of Kirby's stuff now. Like, I feel bad that I ever was even joking about teasing, like, he's not so good.
Whenever I decided that I wanted to illustrate comics, I appreciated Kirby for what he did as far as storytelling and layouts and whatnot. I've never been a fan of his particular style.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's his mistakes or his good points. And he is a fabulous storyteller.
Yes.
And that's different than being maybe just a good pinup artist.
And it's because of that yes, I can honestly say my appreciation for him has grown as I've developed, as I've learned more and more about how to illustrate a story sequentially, and you can see more and more and appreciate more and more about where to add blacks, how to do different shadows, how to set up camera angles and stuff like that, which Kirby just destroyed the industry with just his fabulous takes on that. But his style overall, I've never been a huge fan of.
All right, I'm going to go then. Several people have mentioned this guy. I have a whole list of people. I don't know if I could pick one person, but earlier on, I'd say John Buscema was a big deal because of his Savage Sword of Conan stuff. I used to sit there and pour through those Savage Swords and try to draw deltoids like he does And anyway, he also did the artwork for How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. So he was highly influential. I think the way that I sketch characters is still highly influenced by John Buscema. I say Matt Wagner, and again, I think that's a case where it's more storytelling than necessarily kind of aesthetics and stuff. Brian Stelfreeze was I was a big fan of Brian Stelfreeze back when he did Cyclops, which almost no one knows about. And also, along with Stelfreeze, I have to say the whole damn Gaijin crew, Adam Hughes, Dave Johnson, Mobius, Keith Giffen, Mike Mignola, and later on, as I kind of began to enjoy a little bit more weird, nuanced stuff, people like David Mack, Paul Pope, Jason, Sean, Alexander, and probably another 1,000 people that I'm going to miss. If I had to pick one person who I wish I did work like, it would probably be Brian Stelfreeze. For some reason, I've always really enjoyed his stuff. It's highly stylized, and really clean and interesting to me. So that would probably be my overall favorite. So there you go.
Have you guys ever we live in a great time, right? Because of YouTube and everything. Have y'all ever just got on YouTube and went down the rabbit hole where you watch artists draw like John Buscema and stuff, the old time guys?
I follow many.
Dude, the way those guys will just sit there and sketch, and then they'll pull out their ink tools, which look like old raggedy pins or markers or an old brush that you would wash out something else with. It's fabulous, and they make this just like I always say. It looks like they're a hot knife through butter because it's just so smooth and effortless. And I know they've drawn Spider-Man and Thor and Captain America, thousands and thousands of times, but still, just to watch it and watch them ink is just incredible.
An illustrator you need to look up, you need to watch, is Kim Jong-gi.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that guy because I love that guy right now.
You will hate him.
Yeah. You have a burning hatred for how awesome this guy is.
To watch this guy illustrate, it boggles my mind.
If you want to feel really super inadequate as an artist, watch Kim Jong-gi.
That's true. Very, very true.
I don't need that. I agree with all of Ben's comments here.
Yeah, Butch Guys, Alex Raymond, man, that's a good choice. Travis Jerez, I could have had that on my list. Steve Epting, Michael Lark, all good choices.
Yeah, good stuff.
Steve Campbell says Wally Wood.
That's good too.
Yep, not bad. And Walt, our guest last week, says that Stelfreeze is his favorite. So there you go, pretty cool.
Stelfreeze is awesome. I mean, no one looks like Stelfreeze. You cannot.
His stuff is so clean and crazy, man.
No matter where you see it, you can immediately, just like a John Byrne, just like a Michael Gold. As soon as you see it, you know exactly who that is.
Yeah. Since Walt is watching, Sean, can you help me out here? The guy who did the painting that's on Walt's avatar there, didn't he pass away this week?
Hector Gerardo? Is that his name?
Very good. Scott's got it.
I believe he...
ding, ding, ding.
Was it today or yesterday?
It was the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he passed... I think he was 95 or something.
Wow.
Like that.
I think it was 93, but yeah, it's
93?
close enough. When you're in your 90s, it's good.
Yeah, he had a good life, and he was obviously highly talented. But if you used to collect those old G.I. Joe action figures, he's the one who did those. He did those action figure covers. It's pretty cool. Ththey were super iconic.
Images
yeah,
for a little boy.
And beautiful. I mean, come on, man. That's good stuff.
One last mention, I just remembered this. Walt Simonson, I've been seeing that he's been doing some pictures for charity lately.
Yeah.
And Walt Simonson is, I think, a great storyteller. I love his images as well. But if you told me I don't like Walt Simonson's artwork, I'd understand. But man, his style, and
He's an acquired taste, like Keith Giffen.
yeah, I mean, it's just really powerful of like how this guy can just throw down these scribbles and then ink it, and it just all comes together, and you go like, I can't do that.
Yeah, he
So,
definitely has a unique style. I used to get a kick out of him. Walt says that Stelfree started out as a fashion artist. That doesn't surprise me at all. For sure. All right, our next section here is letters to Taskforce Geek. You can email us letters at taskforcegeek@email.com. This week, Pump did not come through with a letter.
Pop.
Can you believe that? I'm deeply wounded that we got no letters.
We got
from
a
Pump.
cat screech. I mean,
Or-
come on.
I know. I mean, we hit the requisite number of cat screeches.
I'm right now.
All right, you've got a letter for us next week.
That's right.
We got to have some letters, folks, or we have no letter segment. I've got something else that's coming in here. Simonson's Terminator versus RoboCop. You guys remember that? I do.
I do.
that's something that should have been utter trash, but it was like,
Right.
it was beautiful.
It's true.
It was really put together well, and you're like, why did this work? It shouldn't have worked.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Walt Simonson did the Alien graphic novel, did he not?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
I don't remember him doing that, but that doesn't mean he didn't.
Okay,
Right.
see, now I got to look it up. But I believe it was Walt Simonson. And if that be the case, that was the first time that I had actually seen his artwork. And you go back to storytelling. He worked from a working script for the film. He didn't have any real guidance. So all of that was just the artist telling the story from the script, and he did a fantastic job of that. Now I've got to look it up.
Walt says that Simonson did Alien,
Okay.
and to back that up, he says he has it. So
There you go.
Well, I know I personally
Walt.
I've got like 3 copies around the house. It's just finding one in all of my mess.
all right, we are going to be in the our final section, which is what are you watching or reading or playing, whatever. What are you doing? What the heck are you doing right now? Or not right now, but in general. Who wants to go? Who wants to go first on that?
I'll take it.
All right.
All right.
Scott always has cool props.
That's right. And I got more cool props. I'm kind of like the fat carrot top that doesn't annoy you too much.
Wow.
All right.
There's no way that I could top that.
I'm putting that in my letter next week.
Stuffed Fables
Yeah.
is
Interesting.
it's a board game that
Okay.
I purchased several years ago because of all the acclaim everybody was giving it. We've opened it and we read the rules, and then we left it on the shelf, and then we read the rules and left it on the shelf, and then we left it on the shelf and read the rules. And the other night we actually got it out and we played it. It's kind of like the same vein of Toy Story. You're stuffed animals, and you're protecting a little girl who just got her big girl bed. And there's some little miniatures. Like I was a guy named Stitches, which was probably mom's old doll when she was a kid, who had like button eyes and stuff. Jennifer played Theodora, which was a teddy bear. And anyways, you have this villain that comes out from underneath the bed to give the child, nightmares and prey on the innocent child. And it's like a story-driven game where you have all these multiple choices with everything you do. It has this really unique mechanic where you have a dice pool of different colored dice in a bag. You shake the bag, you draw out your 5 dice, and what colors they are determines what type of actions you can take. Certain dice, like might be red, will activate like to have a melee attack, or a green would be a ranged attack, while other dice are like black dice start to activate the villain side. The game runs itself, so it's cooperative. It was like me and Jennifer as these characters going on the story as these villains, villain toys took the red blanket of our child that we protect, and we had to go under the bed and through this dimension and chase down a train and have to go barter with people. It's a very, very clever story-driven game that's fairly difficult too, because you got to think of like what your choices are going to be. Like yellow dice are to search for clues, and it's just you don't cash that dice in to get the clue. You might have a clue level at 4, so you have to roll that dice, and if you roll a 4 or more, then you find that clue. So it was really cool. I'll open this up here just to kind of show you. So you have a map on one side of your story, and then over here you have all your different little choices and scenarios of things to happen. And as you advance, you might go to different areas of the story maps and stuff. Long story short, it's a very clever game. It probably scales really great from 2 to 4 players. We played it 2 players. We went from like setting this game up, me sitting there going like, well, it's been 2 years. I'm probably not that interested in this. I don't really give a crap, but I'll try it out. To as you read it, because there's stuff you read out loud, like a role-playing game and stuff, I went to loving the game. So it's a really cool game called Stuffed Fables. It is by Plat Hat Games.
Nice.
Yeah.
It has
very cool.
Yeah, it has nice artwork and stuff. So if you're a board gamer, I'm giving you that recommendation. And as for comics, I actually stayed up way too late last night reading a whole bunch of comics. And I'm going to give you just some fun things here. Transformer Galaxies by IDW. I don't really read Transformer comics normally because, what I care about Transformers is on the cartoon, and that's about it. Transformers Galaxies, the reason I picked this up is because it's kind of a anthology in this stuff, in the sense that, they're going to give 2 creators some time on a book for 4 issues, and then they're going to give maybe somebody else 2 issues to tell their own story in the Transformer universe. So, like, the first story arc was about the Destructicons and about how they didn't really want to, form being Devastator and stuff. And then the second story talks about Cliff Jumper, which if you're from the 80s, he was the red bumblebee. So he's the forgotten kind of, then that's what this little story arc was about, is like, what's your name again? Chug Jumper? And, everybody would say his name wrong. It was way more entertaining than it should have been. I've been really enjoying this series. It is still Transformers, but I like that different creators get to tell their stories. That they're shorter stories, obviously, 4-issue story arc, 2-issue story arc, so they can get in and out, tell a story that's from the Transformer universe. And then finally, one of my all-time favorite,
Peter Porker.
So this is the current miniseries from Marvel Comics of Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. It's written by Zeb Wells, and I believe the artist by, I don't know his first name. Robson is his last name. It is surprisingly, as an old guy who's reading comics from his childhood, I was like, this is not going to be very good, but I'm still going to support it. It's maybe one of the best Spider-Ham stories we've ever gotten before.
Nice.
Now I realize there's only been a handful of them, so it's easy to be the top dog when there's only 25 stories out there. But it's really good. Good point if you just want to try out some goofy Marvel comics of Spider-Ham. He's been around since 1983, so Spider-Ham's been around a long time, even before the Into the Spider-Verse movie. So there you go.
That's cool. You
I'm sorry. What was the last thing you heard me say?
Are you done?
Okay, yeah, I'm done.
What? Walt says Cliff Jumper is a Casey Kasem character.
Okay.
Is it Casey Kasem?
Well, he voiced a few characters, I thought, in the cartoon.
Voice actor. Okay, I thought he came up with it or something. But yeah, okay. That makes sense.
All right, Murph, you're up next.
Mention this kind of to the Friday Night Gang. I've been kind of finding a lot of British TV on YouTube, and it cracks me up at how smart they are and how funny at the same time, just really cussing up a storm. And one of my favorites is called 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. And it's a word game, math game, and it's basically kind of a comedy hour where they just sit around and make fun of each other and tell jokes, and then they do little games where they make words out of letters and do math, and it sounds really ridiculous until you watch it, and then I just watch more and more of them. There's also a dude, for some reason, when I come up, the suggested stuff brought me to a guy by the name of Wim Hof, Wimhoff, and he's like, I don't know what to say, a naturalist, but he's the dude that can get into a bucket of frozen water or whatever and just sit there for 14 hours and nothing happens to his body temperature.
Right.
And he does all these breathing exercises and kind of teaches you how to do it. And I've done it like 4 or 5 times, and I'm absolutely amazed at the increase in lung capacity and the heat that you feel. It's like 3 sessions that take you maybe 11 minutes, and they're kind of timed out on his YouTube stuff. And by the end of it, you're just boiling warm and you're all tingly, and it's just from breathing. And I thought that was kind of amazing. I've been watching a lot of model building videos on YouTube. I've got a closet full of models I just haven't built yet, and I kind of get guilty, and so I go watch other people build theirs. That somehow makes me feel a little better about it, because a lot of them are stuff that I have in the closet, and it's just kind of cool seeing how people do it. And some of the guys are amazingly good, and it's kind of they'll speed through the fast stuff and then show you other things, and that's been really neat. Checked out the new series Vagrant Queen. Mentioned this on Friday, and at first I was kind of like, this is going to be one of those, female-centric things that makes all the men look just like retards. And although it does, Dirk said he kind of liked it, so I kept up with it, and it did get a lot better. I think there's 4 episodes into it, and it's better off now than it was when I first saw it.
Cool.
Of course, watching the Clone Wars. Irritates me to no end that you guys don't have Disney Plus or whatever, not watching this, so I can't talk to you about it.
I'm just behind on everything, man. I've got Disney Plus.
Come on. There's a bunch of things on. I used to have Gaia TV for one of the channels that I had, but anymore I just do the YouTube stuff because most of the stuff is on there anyway. It's a little more in pieces.
Right.
But there's a lot of interesting theories and stuff in there just about what's going on in technology and where money's actually going, and it's just really kind of cool to see these guys sit around and talk about it. Kind of like what we do. Their studios are a little more impressive, but it's a lot of really kind of stuff, food for thought kind of things in our own history and whatnot. And for some reason, when I'm up, like Scott said, when you're up way too late and you look at the clock and say, no, that can't be what time it is, but I'll click on this just in case. That's usually about the time I hit that stuff. So I recommend it. And that's about it. Play with my dog. We do this every day, graphic design. And other than that, kind of day by day to get us through all this craziness. So that's what I got.
Walt says, get Disney, y'all.
Amen.
No man has time to sit around and watch TV.
Oh, they're like 25.
Sean, you're up.
I've got Disney Plus. I'm just behind.
Yeah, me too. Same
I'm
thing.
Very behind.
Same thing.
As far as what I'm reading, I just recently finished a book called Oscar Martin's Solo. It's a comic book. It's Oscar Martin. He's done illustrations for Disney comics. He's done stuff for Tom and Jerry comics. So everything's got a very animated feel. With Solo, he takes that animated feel, but he puts it into a more adult, more mature storytelling, in which our hero, who is a anthropomorphic rat, is stuck in an apocalyptic wasteland, and there's a lot of killing, a lot of beheadings, and some sexual situations, but it's all illustrated in a fashion that is very Tom and Jerry, very Disney. It's a trip, but it's a beautiful book. It's beautifully written. It's beautifully illustrated. I highly recommend it. As far as anything that I'm watching, I just started Kingdom, which is a period set zombie show from Korea. It's beautifully shot, beautifully
North
done.
or south?
I suspect so. I don't know of too many films from
Man, that North Korean film market is crazy.
I'd like
It's
to
all
see
black
one
and
of those movies. Yeah, it's probably black and white, and Kim Jong Un is doing everything. He's like the Superman, the Batman, and the Wonder Woman.
I would love to see him in a Superman outfit.
That would be fun. That would be fun. I also last Friday, Saturday, I saw the movie Extraction, which I believe came out Friday.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's on Netflix now.
With Chris Helmsworth. It's produced by the Russo brothers as well as Chris Helmsworth, and I thought that was amazing. I thought they once again knocked it out of the park. Great action, great story, and I also believe in the credits it said that it's based on a graphic novel. So, something else I get to check out.
Interesting.
Hey, let's see if you guys have seen Money Heist. Steve Campbell says it's really good.
I have not.
Anyone? It's on Netflix.
No, I have not.
I haven't either.
I watched something where
We're 0
a dude,
for 4.
I don't know if it was Money Heist. I don't remember the name of it, and I tried to go back and watch it again, and I can't find it now.
I believe it's
And
the one where everybody's wearing a Salvador Dali mask.
Oh, okay. This wasn't this one. This was a delivery guy who wanders onto a robbery and then ends up with the bags of cash and gets away with them. And it's a pretty good story.
Steve also says that I guess Kim Jong Un kidnapped some Japanese filmmakers, and he's got a
Godzilla movie then.
He's got a link there.
But of course he did.
That was very white of you, Murphy.
Well, there it is, buddy.
All right, I'm up next. The thing that I want to push right now is What We Do in the Shadows. I've missed the first season. Wasn't really interested in it because I saw the movie. Movie was okay. It was done by Taika Waititi, who's the guy who did the last Thor film, and I thought, if it was kind of going to be more like the original movie, that I wasn't really interested. But someone told me that it was pretty good, so I went ahead and checked it out. And as it turns out, it's got a guy in it named Matt Berry, who's one of my favorite English comedy actors. And I've seen everything that this guy has been in, including The It Crowd and The Mighty Boosh and Snuffbox and a bunch of crazy. He's just a kind of a very strange, unusual character. Well, he figures prominently in What We Do in the Shadows, so I was automatically a big fan of what's happening there, and it's unusual and it's funny and it's entertaining to me. So if you're interested in kind of maybe seeing a kind of a vampire comedy series, I think that it's worth a shot. It's on FX, or you can just watch it on Hulu, because everything that's on FX, I guess, is now also on Hulu.
And what was the name of it again?
What We Do in the Shadows. It's based
okay.
It's based on a movie. It's a bunch of kind of Victorian era vampires that are put in modern America, and kind of the fun ensues from that.
And it's on like its second season or something like that.
It is on the second season. I'm almost caught up with where they are. It's funny. They also,
I think I saw a piece of one the other day and thought, now what is this and how have I missed it? It was, they were doing a memory wipe on the guy just to forget what happened right now, and they wiped everything so he didn't know who he was.
Right.
You got into that episode?
No.
I thought, okay,
yeah,
this is something to return back to.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I think that they're probably doing a little bit of they're kind of ad-libbing, because they have some very talented
Nice.
comedians on this sort of stuff, and they kind of go off the rails sometimes, where I figured that you probably couldn't script some of those lines. I could be wrong, but anyway, it's pretty good. Walt says that the scratchy audio movie is North Korean. That's what he was talking about. He says he's watching Hunters.
I've seen Hunters.
Anyone
Nice little.
Hunters?
Yep, I saw the whole thing, and there's a great little twist at the end. You can freak out. Well, I did.
Nice.
Benjamin Soto says Extraction is based on a graphic novel called Ciudad. I probably murdered that.
Who dat?
I'm going to say that that's Spanish, and I don't
Ciudad?
speak Spanish. Let's
Written
not
by,
murder it further, man.
Written by Andy Park, Joe Russo, and Anthony Russo.
All right.
Wow.
There you go. Good stuff.
All right. I'm adding that to my list as we speak.
Yeah. Good stuff. I like it. All right. So, our last little section here, if I can find it on the deal, is promo time. And for that, I'm going to go first to our guest, who is Sean Murphy.
Well, hello. Basically, the promotion of mine is I have a graphic design business that I do every day. Smartstudio.net is the website. I also do promotional items and whatnot. ASA has given me a website that I can use for that now, but it's got a web name that's this long. So I'll just put links onto it where you can get all branded goods, any kind of promotional items, anything to go along. If you got a mark, you can put it on something. I do all kinds of graphic design, illustrations, ad design. I do a lot of things lately for construction companies because they seem to be up and going pretty good right now during storm season.
Nice.
And do a lot of like door hangers and magnetic business cards and stuff, just let know people that they're in the area, and leave behinds. And, a couple of them do gifts and stuff. Illustrations all the time, doing a lot of sign work. I don't know, keeping me reasonably busy. Not quite where it should be, but survivable. So
could be worse.
Oh yeah, it could be a lot worse. So thank you, Lord.
Benjamin Soto had some more to say about Extraction. He said Andy Parks wrote it. He gave me a copy for watching his table a few years ago.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right.
That is cool. That's a great story.
Andy Parks is pretty cool too.
And Benjamin, thanks for chiming in on us. We appreciate you giving us some comments today. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Who else? Let's go to Scott for promo time.
I'm just gonna keep promoting Bolt Down.
Yeah.
The number one Blood Bowl podcast.
Very nice.
That has a guest on this show. Just still plugging the podcast. We're still going weekly, so you can tune in and listen to us there. You can find us at iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, all that. You can either go to boltdown.com.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Sean, you're up.
Still just plugging away on setting up my website and getting it fully functional. That's about all I've been working on.
That's rankingstudios.com.
rankingstudios.com, and we've recently started a Facebook page. There's not a whole lot information on that just yet, but you can find the link at rankingstudios.com, and feel free to take a look and let us know what you think.
All right. My thing next is what I always do, which is go to Quora. Check us out, Taskforce Geek. We're going to be posting this right up at the top of that page, and also some of our smaller portions of this, so that if you don't want to sit through all 2 hours of it, you can just watch what you like. And also, my profile is Quora.com /profile/Dirk-Hooper. So there is my promo stuff. Does anyone have anything they want to add here?
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Had technical expertise going on in the beginning there, thanks to my crappy equipment, but they got settled up, and it's been a good time.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We appreciate you being on here. You were a good addition, man.
Glad to.
All right. Well, then I want to mention that we're looking for guests for Task Force Geek. If you're interested, please contact me at taskforcegeek@gmail.com. We're looking for a diverse crowd, particularly some women. Hey, we still haven't had a woman on this thing. So don't be shy. If you're a woman, get in touch with us. Let's get you on there. Showed you the stuff about Ranking Studios. Thanks to everyone for watching this. Please leave a like or share this wherever you see it. Sure makes a huge difference for Scott, Sean, and Sean. This is Dirk Hooper saying, dream hard.